Carol Ofori, East Coast Radio.
Oh yeah, you know it's a Wednesday when you hear this track, right? Woman Crush Wednesday, it's called. On the show, we sit down with women that are trailblazing in different industries. And today I'm excited. I'm sitting down with Zahraa Dockrat, who is a fashion force that doesn't just walk into a room, honey. She owns the room. She curates it. And she probably leaves behind a little sparkle of inspiration while she's at it. Now, Zahraa is quickly becoming one of those must-follow names that's redefining what style looks and feels like right now. Her world is seamless. Her world is in a world of seamless beauty, luxury, global travel, and intentional living. She represents a shift in the industry where style isn't dictated by how much you show, but how confidently you show up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Zahraa Dockrat. How are you, Zahraa?
Hi, Carol. Thank you so much for having me on air today. And thank you for the East Coast Radio listeners for tuning in today and listening to me.
I love it. I love it. Welcome, welcome. So, I mean, I've been following you on social media for a while, and your social media presence is very luxurious, very beautiful. And one thing that is you can't miss is how you sport your hijab, and you've got this comfortable flair, eliteness vibes. I love it. Explain to someone who doesn't understand your footprint, what it's all about.
Basically, I've started my journey in COVID. I went into hijab in full time, so I was always adorning my scarf. And I thought to myself, you know, a lot of ladies, you always see them wearing that black scarf. And I was like, I want to be different. There was a lot of brands at the time. So I would wear different colors, dress it up, because I wouldn't want to be restricted and, you know, not come across as curated and stylish whilst, you know, embracing my faith and identity.
Right. I love that. And that's one standout point about you. You're very intentional about how you are perceived and how you look. Now, when you put your looks together, the one thing you say is you are about... is it called not dressed down, but I mean we come from a society now where the less clothes you have, the more likes you have, right? And you are on the opposite side of that. You are elegantly dressed up, still looking flawlessly beautiful. What are your thoughts on how fashion is perceived in 2026?
I think fashion is perceived in 2026 as, you know, the less you wear, the more attractive you're perceived. But I feel like, you know, we shouldn't feel restricted by our religion and identity. And I mean, there's a lot of faith and a lot of people who just have the ideology of wanting to dress modestly.
Yeah.
And I think nowadays it's so difficult to obviously embrace that. But I think nowadays it is moving in a different direction, and you know, people are starting to realize that I don't need to show everything to come across as someone who's perceived as like curated and stylish, of course, and definitely confident.
I love it. That's the word I was looking for. Modest fashion is now coming back into the fold, and I love that. Now, you got into the world of content creation and decided to take the stance of modest fashion, and like you're saying, showing your fashion through also your religion and your faith. Talk us through how you started this whole process of finding yourself in social media, and now people follow you for your content.
So I started by sharing my travels, everyday life, and my outfits. And from there, it kind of became a thing where I'd be approached by local and both international brands.
Wow.
So I was able to obviously showcase my lifestyle, my outfits, and obviously have it being lucrative as well.
I love that. Talk about your lifestyle, honey. You are on first-class planes. You have expensive bags, honey. You have gone all over the world. Is this your day-to-day life, or is it part of the content creation world?
So I was lucky enough to be exposed to like travel from a very young age. We were always traveling. And, you know, as a young girl, I'd be like, okay, this is my baggage limit. Now, what am I going to put in to fit into that baggage limit? So obviously, I've been very privileged to being exposed to it from a young age. Wow. But now I've kind of expanded it into what I do currently. Yeah. So it's no longer something that's just for leisure. But like I said, it's also become lucrative. And like I have worked with like brands like in hotels overseas.
Wow.
So yeah, it's become part of it as well.
Wow. So all these pictures that you're taking all over the world are all part of brands coming and saying, we want Zahraa in the building to take these photos so people can come visit our place.
So I won't lie, a lot of it is at like my own expense, but there have been times where I would be approached by a hotel or even like a brand on the other end of the world, and they'd be like, you know what, I know you're coming this side or you are this side. Would you mind staying here, or would you mind visiting us, or would you like to do a shoot with us or shoot a campaign with us? And I think I'm so lucky to have obviously received these opportunities, because it's not every day that a South African girlie who's obviously into modest fashion and, you know, just to be approached by all of these opportunities, it's a privilege.
I love that. And like, what do you wish people better understood about Muslim women, fashion and the media? Because I'm just as ignorant. Like for me, seeing you as flawless and beautiful and social media and being out there, I'm like, does it contradict what you stand for? Do you find yourself people saying, you know, questioning it? I mean, walk us through for very ignorant people about that space.
So I feel like people don't understand that Muslim women they're not one-dimensional. We're not one-dimensional. We're diverse, we're creative, and we're fully capable of like expressing ourselves in any space. And I think that's really misunderstood, and people don't realize that. And at the same time, it doesn't contradict with our identity and our faith as well, because, you know, having confidence there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah. And obviously being successful and succeeding in any space and any endeavor. So yeah, I think that people like misunderstand us, and they don't realize we're definitely not one-dimensional.
Yeah, no, I think you've made it very clear. I love following your content because you do open the door for people to leave ignorance behind and be a little bit more open-minded and see the different dimensions of modest fashion, which I think is the future of fashion. I think this thing where your butt cheeks are sticking out and your chest is out is not cute. The less you show, the better. So Zahraa, we were talking off air about a few things, but I think the one thing I'm going to throw at you is a question around challenges and how you've overcome challenge. Is there any particular one you can zone in on in the world that you work in, which is social media and all of that? What has been a big challenge for you, and how have you overcome that?
It's probably the criticism, and also learning not to take everything personally while still trying to grow from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads me to my next question. You know, social media can be both very empowering, but it can also be harsh, and it can literally ruin someone's peace online, because there will be trolls. Every one of us out here has trolls. And some of us deal with them better than others. How do you keep your peace?
I try to set boundaries, and I also really do try to limit what I share as well. And also realize that not every opinion really deserves my energy, and I should just focus on what I'm doing. And, you know, as much as there'll be a lot of hate, there'll be a lot of positivity, and there'll be a lot of young girls who reach out to me and be like, you know what, I just started wearing scarf and I see the things you do, and, you know, it's so nice to have someone to look up to.
I love that. And I love that you say you set boundaries. How do you do that in the world of social media?
So I think a lot of people like to share everything that they do. So I try not to post in real time. I try to limit my exposure of my family. And I also try to not get too personal.
That is very important. Now, what does fashion mean to you beyond the aesthetics? And tell us more about your fashion label as well.
So fashion for me is modesty, it's quality, and in my label, it combines both of that. So I am working on some new lines as well, which is very exciting. But like I said, I ensure that it's a blend of both modest and quality. Right,
and that is the ZD line.
ZD the label, yes.
ZD the label. And how do we get a hold of ZD the label if we're interested in getting some of your beautiful fashions?
So I have been selling to some retailers, and now I am on Instagram. So I've just started my page again. I was doing bespoke tweed jackets, so very artsy, very curated, and you know, the tweed was impeccable. The quality of the tweed I don't think you'd find anywhere else.
Okay, I'm very ignorant. What is a tweed?
So tweed is a fabric. So I'm sure you've seen like tweed jackets. It's mainly in winter because, I mean, obviously here in Durban, you don't really get the weather to wear a lot of that. I mean, as soon as it drops under 21 degrees, you'll see me in a coat, which I am in today.
Yes. Okay. And also, what does fashion mean for you just overall as you look at the world we live in today, 2026, and how we're interpreting it?
So fashion for me is a form of self-expression. It's a way of expressing myself, and it's also just for me something I can play around with, something I can be creative with. Yeah.
And I think every woman loves to hear a different woman's experience and also her lived experience, some advice. What do you leave us with as women who are struggling to fit into molds, into what society says? You've carved away, you're unapologetic, you are a modest fashion socialite as well as a social media content creator, philanthropist. What do you say to us who just struggle to fit into molds?
I would say to any woman or even any young girl, you don't need to fit any mold, and your uniqueness is your own strength, and you should create your own path.
Yeah, you should create your own path. If we'd like to follow your path, where do we find you and how do we stalk your pages?
Okay, so I'm mainly on Instagram.
Yeah.
So my page is Zahraa.Dockrat. That's ZAHRAA.DOCKRAT. Zahraa.Dockrat.
Zahraa.Dockrat. And tell me, what are you working on that you can let little birdies know about?
So aside from my clothing lines, of course, I'm also working on a lot of campaigns that are upcoming, and I'm also studying psychology. So I'm en route to becoming a clinical psychologist as well, and I'm planning on starting my own podcast.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
And what are we going to be talking about in the podcast?
So I'd like to link my psychology and obviously women empowerment. I think those are very big topics today and things that aren't touched on enough. And for your, just to add in, it's like in South Africa, there's a really small amount of clinical psychologists that's a person of color and also Muslim. Yeah, so I really do want to become part of that minority and to reach out because I feel like there isn't enough.
There isn't enough. I love it. Zahraa Dockrat, everybody. Follow on social media, Zahraa.Dockrat. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for your inspiration and for shining your light on a world that many misunderstand in so many ways.
Thank you so much for having me today, Carol. And thank you to the East Coast Radio listeners.
There we go. Zahraa Dockrat, everybody.
Carol Ofori. Weekdays 9 to 12 p.m. East Coast Radio.